I would
Yeah.
love to hear how you found out about the Latin Mass. What's your story?
Um, sure. So I grew up in like the worst Novus Ordo parish, a really large parish in Huntington Beach, California, that had all kinds of liturgical abuses, no kneelers, probably never produced a single vocation while the order that was running it was there. They left because they basically just gave up recently. And um, when I left for college, completely uncatechized, really not like a faithful Catholic, but fortunately, the Brotherhood of Hope, which is a group of religious brothers that runs various campus ministries.
I know
Um,
Brotherhood of Hope. Yeah.
oh yeah, okay.
Yep.
So they're pretty charismatic, but they're very like orthodox in their Catholic morality. So they help me
They're
to
very
understand.
holy.
Yeah, they're extremely holy. So they catechize me, and I had this awesome community in college because of them. So I'm forever grateful for that. And I also met my wife in college, and she was involved with that Newman Center as well. But toward the end of our time there, we started to attend mass outside of the campus, and we sought like the more reverent Novus Ordos. Um, and we got married in 2010. We've had 5 kids and moved to like 7 or 8 different states in, that period of time. And and in 20, I think it was 2016, we were in uh, Dallas Fort Worth, and we started attending Mater Dei in Irving, and that was awesome. But at the time, it was still like it felt kind of fringy, and as JP2 Catholics, we were not quite certain that this was it's like, why don't they ever mention the Catechism of the Catholic Church? Why is it always
Hmm.
the Catechism
Roman
of the Council of
Catechism.
Trent?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, why don't they talk about modern popes and saints very very often?
Hmm.
um, so we ended up going back to a Novus Ordo that was closer to us, and where we felt like the priest was really the pastor was trying to turn it around from ultra liberal to um, what we thought was very conservative. But then quickly relocated to South Carolina, and at that point we had the opportunity to attend the Latin Mass again, and we kind of like habituated we went to only the Latin Mass for a year straight, and even though we thought it was just a matter of preference, it was just like such a superior aesthetic um,
Hmm.
experience. But in January of 2019, I came across a debate between Father Dwight Longenecker, who was in Greenville, where we lived, and Dr. Peter Kwasniewski.
Yep.
So that's when I was reading one of Kwasniewski's essays, and I realized, like, wow, like the history of the Novus Ordo is just like it's such that it's just defective. Like there is no like this liturgy has serious defects. And reading some of the quotes from Pope Paul VI and Bugnini on why they did what they did, I realized like this is modernism.
Hmm.
Um, so at that point, we kind of made the conscious decision to go Latin Mass only. So um, then we quickly relocated again to central Illinois, where now we drive over an hour to get to a Latin Mass. But if we
Wow.
hadn't kind of like made that conscious decision, we would definitely just be going to the like traditional Novus Ordo in the area.
Well, that's a good segue into the trilogy we're making. So, Mass of the Ages is going to be a trilogy of films on the Latin Mass. And what Floyd is talking about, this, you know, he was surprised when he actually looked into the creation of the new Mass, and I was too. Yeah, I guess I had this assumption that Vatican II happened, and then this new Mass kind of rolled off the shelf at Vatican II. But there is this interim period of politics and dubious behavior and what I would say were villainous actors like Bunini who you know rammed through an agenda that created the new mass and You sum it up with one word, which is modernism, and I think that's a very insightful word. Anyways, episode 2 of our trilogy really gets into the surprising history of the creation of the new mass. So if you want to see our first episode of the trilogy, you can get notified. The only way to become a part of the live premiere is to go to theliturgy.org and to click the purple get notified button. But Floyd, I would love to ask about something you mentioned, which is your background with, a very charismatic yet holy group, and then coming to the Latin Mass. It took you a while to get there. How do you? Because this is something I've thought about a lot, and I would love to get your thoughts on it. Like, how do you reconcile this charismatic thing over here and how you're a Latin Mass only exclusive goer now?
Yeah. I, and I've actually had this. I talked about this for like 2 hours with one of the brothers in the Brotherhood of Hope recently. But it's really like it's like how I'm sure a handful of Protestants who are super faithful, super virtuous, and like holy men,
Mm-hmm.
who like they know Jesus Christ, they have a personal relationship, um, but that their theology is like heretical.
Hmm.
Um, so it's I would say it's analogous to that. It's not like equivalent, obviously,
Right.
because
It's a good
that
analogy.
yeah they're within the church, but like the presence of a few very like holy examples doesn't change the fact that if you zoom out and look at the statistics, um, it's like they're only you're it's called sampling on the dependent variable. Like if you're only looking at like the few that were really successful in building a strong faith life through like the Novus Ordo church, you're not seeing the vast majority that are falling by the wayside.
Hmm.
So I would say like if Latin Mass parishes are achieving something like a 80 to 90% success rate with um, catechizing their members so that they retain their faith into college and beyond. I don't know what the statistics are, but let's say theoretically. Whereas the Novus Ordo is like, a near 0% success rate, then we
When
need
you say
to we
near
need to take that
zero
seriously.
success rate, do you mean in terms of making saints, or do you mean doctrinal
I mean,
effectiveness?
in terms of like young adults retaining their faith um, into college and beyond. I don't know what like I don't know what the actual success rate
It's
is. I
like
just know it might.
80% lose their faith in college, something like that,
Yeah.
with just the typical, nationwide Catholic. So what would typically be Novus Ordo going families?
Yep. And that's according to that definition. But if you think about like, are they really um, making their faith the center of their lives and trying to remain in a state of grace, or do they just identify as Catholic? Like that's um, I think what your documentary is going to show is just that the Latin Mass was far more successful at catechizing catechizing the faithful such that they retained their faith throughout their lives.
Yeah, because the mass is it's how we identify as Catholic. It's how we retain our
Yeah.
Catholic identity. Because how do you know you're Catholic besides just, oh, obviously I'm Catholic, I'm baptized or whatever. Well, you go to mass each and every Sunday, and you get this sense of your Catholic identity. Um, if that is changed in a dramatic way, where the Catholic faith is not obviously on full display, like the reverence towards the saints, the adoration of the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist, um, the Mass being a, a source of remission of your sins, like these very Catholic things that the you know the priesthood, all of that. And if the Mass becomes more Protestantized, still valid, obviously, still a valid sacrament, but in its features, in its prayers, in its orientation, if it starts to look and feel more Protestant, and that's what you're getting Sunday after Sunday after Sunday for most of your life, that I think that's what we're talking about. Is like that's what the Catholic identity is. That's the foundation of faith, and when that is changed, then we see the source to all these problems. What I would say about the charismatic organizations, I I have great admiration for them, and love for them. I met my wife during Net Ministries in the USA, and then I worked with St. Paul's Outreach, who's closely connected with the Brotherhood of Hope that you mentioned, Floyd. What what those groups taught me was the necessity of a personal call to holiness. Like you're not holy just only through, baptized into God's church and the sacramental life. You're holy because of your personal choice. And that meant that I need to have a daily prayer life, a daily meditation, daily time where I do have a personal relationship with Jesus, as much as that's been adopted and changed by Protestant circles. It's true. I need to relate to Jesus in a very personal level. So those things were life changing for me. But I think those what can often happen with people who are involved with the charismatic renewal is that the Mass becomes this place where you can kind of experiment and let's talk about your personal. Then the personal relationship supersedes the kind of group, long-standing traditional. This is the liturgy, and I'm kind of subsumed into something larger than me. The liturgy becomes kind of a playground for stirring up personal devotion. And that's where I had to say, eventually, we can't go to just any parish. We had to go to a parish that had a strong Catholic identity for my family. So for me, it was like, yes, these charismatic groups get a lot right in terms of like personal devotion and relationship. And I'll only say good things about Net Ministries and St. Paul's Outreach because I love them. So this is more of a broader scope, but when it came to the Mass, and some of these charismatic individuals wanted to, bring those elements into the Mass and change the Mass and make the Mass kind of an evangelistic event. That was kind of the tipping point for me. Was yes, Monday through Saturday and Sunday, you have a personal relationship, personal prayer. It's very personal. That's great. Sing whatever songs you want to the Lord, like whatever, like stir up your emotions, sing to God, praise Him, whatever. But the Mass is the Mass, and we need stability. We need a solid foundation, and that's why the Latin Mass is great. That's why we have this Latin Mass finder, because anywhere in the country, if you find a Latin Mass, it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be great. You're not gonna be surprised, or your piety is not gonna be offended. Your kids aren't gonna be confused. Like, you can find a Latin Mass, and it's just gonna be the same. It's gonna be the Catholic faith on full display. Anything else you want to say, Floyd, before we sign off?
No, I appreciate you featuring this map on your website, and I especially appreciate that you're getting the message out there through your documentary. It's something that I've been hoping for years that somebody would produce. So I'm extremely excited to see it.
Thanks, man. I'm excited to show it to you.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. Well, have a great day. God bless you, man.
All right, God bless you too, Cameron.